Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host and Gimli of the Glissando, Ken Levine. I'm a singer and vocal coach here on YouTube, and today we are looking at Kiss and their seminal work, Creatures of the Night, from the same album of the same name. But before we do that, I'd just like to remind you all to please remember to hit that subscribe button, notification bell, do the thingy with the thingy. That really helps the channel, helps me out, and lets me know what you like, what you don't like, all that good stuff. And also so you don't miss out on any of the great things that we produce here every week on the channel. Okay, so this one came across my desk. Kiss, I believe, is about to reissue a 40th sort of anniversary re-release, and I think this has been remastered. So we're going to take a look and listen and see what this is all about. I was never part of the Kiss Army. I do have a friend who was big into the Kiss Army. That whole wave of cultural zeitgeist just sort of passed over me in the 80s, and I just didn't even know it existed, really. I mean, I sort of tentatively knew, there was this crazy hair band that put on, kabuki makeup, and it was weird and strange, Growing up in the era of the Satanic Panic, my parents were just, there's no way they're going to allow that to happen. At any rate, that's the preamble. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't really know what I'm missing, I guess is what I'm saying. Oh, wait, hang on. Dun, 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 dun. Sort of like I don't know what you call that. What? That sort of pickup beat as they change chords right before. It feels like, I don't know. I don't know what you call it. One of you clever folks who has their brain screwed on properly this morning might know better than me. And please put that down in the description. Comment section. That's it. Okay, there was a definitive sound for vocalists in this era who were in rock and roll or rock or hard rock or heavy metal. There was that sort of heavily layered and almost dripping wet with reverb, that sort of plate reverb that just seemed to go on for days and days and days. And the primary vocal seemed very, very far back in the mix. It gave it sort of this sort of heavier sound, a more, I don't know what you call it, primal energy. There was something about it that when I listen to it now, with having just a little bit of, I'm not a music engineer. I don't necessarily know exactly all of the steps to achieve that sound, but I kind of think, that was deliberate. It wasn't just sort of like we were trying things out and seeing what happened. There's something deliberate about creating that sound and infusing that into the track. I don't know what steps were involved. Maybe one of you clever folks out there with more engineering chops than me could illuminate the audience. If you're trying to emulate that sound from the 80s, it might be something to a fun experiment to try and mix your vocal that way. There's more to say about the vocal too. This is, I think, Paul Stanley, who is doing the vocals for this one. We're creatures of the night. We're creatures of the night. Breathing in the madness, spitting out the light. evoking a little bit of that vocal fry, a fry scream almost, but it feels more of a gritty shout from Paul Stanley here. Just interesting. Very much sort of like the high baritone sort of range. He sounds like he's got a lot of power, but maybe a little bit more in the higher range than some of the other vocalists from Kiss. Don't know where we're going, just know where we've been. Remember when the clock strikes 12, the losers always win. So, phrasing. It's really interesting. There's that chord, again, trying to encapsulate and cast my mind back to 1982, and the sound of rebellion back then felt like you were still listening to it now. It feels very tame, like it's still very much painting between the lines of, acceptable, chord changes and all of that. Even though it feels really heavy, a lot of distortion on the guitars, and that gritty shout happening within the context of the vocalist. There's some interesting things going on there with how he phrases each of those, how Paul Stanley ends those phrases. It feels almost a little bit like a sort of a lazy tail onto the end. And let me see if I can find an example of it. Again, this sort of half glissando falling off the end of the note, and that happens over and over and over again throughout each of those phrases. I think, again, if you're trying to sort of really emulate that sound going back 40 years, you really need to be able to nail that. That's part of the sound. We talk about, certainly in classical music, being idiomatically correct. So being true to the idiom. And when you're singing those words, you need to do it within the style that is, not correct, but just sort of encapsulates what that idiom is to really sort of have that authentic feeling. And no matter what style you're doing, it deserves that kind of respect and attention. Losers always win. We're creatures of the night. We're creatures of the It's interesting, I'm listening. They have a great opportunity for an incredible guitar solo, and it feels like, I don't know, just keeping the pulse going with this particular guitar solo. I don't know. Guitarists out there, what am I off base here for saying that? It feels like you could really shred here. What's going on? Whoa! Okay, with headphones on, I wasn't expecting this sort of dramatic pan from both. I don't know if you won't be able to hear it unless you got the headphones on. That was pretty cool. Was that part of the remastering? Was that part of the original? I don't know, but I was enjoyable, unexpected. Let's see it again. Okay, here's the guitar solo. Okay, yeah, this reminds me of the Ozzy Osbourne sort of sound, that kind of vocal layered, doubling that happens when you repeat the line over again and try and emulate it as closely as you can. That, at least that's my perception of it. Again, very idiomatic of this particular time of recording this sort of heavy rock, heavy metal, guys who are, into delineating what heavy metal is. Is this what you classify as heavy metal? That particular sound from the vocalist, I dig. I like it. I love Ozzy sound, and this sounds more in line with that. Maybe my ears are just getting adjusted to it. Okay, Paul Stanley, you didn't quite hit it there. What's going on? Pretty close, but not really. Creatures of the night. What note is that? B5. Creatures of the night. Not quite there. It's the end of the song. Voice is tired, doing other stuff there. Okay. One more. Whoa, okay, yeah. That was actually pretty cool. I mean, there's something to really be lauded in this whole thing, and I'm going to build up to that for a second. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, lots of energy there. A few words about Paul Stanley. I didn't know that he had been born with a facial deformity that actually he was very, very self-conscious about, and also rendered him deaf in one ear. And that, to me, I was just like, holy crap. Lead singer of one of the biggest rock bands to come out of the mid-'70s and continue to rock really, really hard with all of that, facing that down. And then I read somewhere that he also, like 17 years after this recording, goes out on stage and sings the lead role in Phantom of the Opera and nails it. It really, really quite remarkable. So hats off. I don't want to ever come off as being disrespectful of any of the singers that maybe might miss a note here or there in some of the recordings. I know I've done it, and it's not necessarily... it does not encapsulate the entirety of their work. Remember, this was in the 1980s. Pitch correction didn't exist. And if it didn't happen on the day of the recording, oh, well, that's just what's happening. That's what's going on in the recording. So hats off to them. 40th anniversary for KISS. Good job, everyone in the KISS Army. Leave your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. Did I miss the boat? I mean, this is actually a really good tune for them that I personally enjoyed. I got a lot out of it. And listening to it with new ears, I'm thinking, I need to listen to this again and have another crack at it. Give them another chance. Let's dig deeper into the back catalog of KISS and find some of those undiscovered gems. Many of you could help be my guides in that. I would really appreciate that. Like I said, leave your comments down below. Now, if you are a singer and you're wondering how can I emulate the sound of my favorite artist, I strongly recommend you reach out to a talented vocal coach. They will help guide you on your way to ensure that you do it safely and that your voice remains intact. Some of what these vocal gods are doing can be incredibly difficult to master, and we can help you get there without harming your vocal folds. So again, you don't have to work with me, but if you want to work with me, I will be sure to leave those links down below in the description. And yes, please remember to hit that subscribe button, notification bell, all that stuff that I said at the beginning. It applies here too. If you got anything from this video, please give us a little bit of love. I really appreciate that. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.